record, today is Thursday, February 9th, 2017. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. This is the date and time set for the hearing in the matter of the joint application of Level 3 Communications, Inc. and CenturyLink, Inc. et al. This is transfer of control docket. We actually have 4 docket numbers to represent the various companies. They are 16-2266-01, 16-2246-01, 16-2271-01, and 16-2351-02. Let's get appearances on the record for our applicants.
Good morning, here, Officer Tori Summers with CenturyLink, and with me today will be testifying on behalf of CenturyLink is Jeremy Firkin.
I'm William Evans of Parsons, Bailey & Latimer for joint applicant Level 3 Communications, Inc. and the Utah Operating Companies. And our witness is on the telephone this morning, Christy Ince.
Thank you. And for the division?
And I'm Justin Jetter with the Utah Attorney General's Office, representing the Utah Division of Public Utilities today. And with me at council table is William Duncan with the Utah Division of Public Utilities.
Mr. Summers, are you going to take the lead? Is that the plan?
Yes, I will. Thank you very
All right,
much.
go ahead.
We are here today on CenturyLink and Level 3's joint application for indirect transfer of control. On January 18th, 2017, the Division of Public Utilities submitted its recommendation supporting approval of the transaction. Further, the Division agreed that this transaction and the documents filed satisfies the requirements of the informal adjudication process set forth in Utah Administrative Code R746-349-7. Under this rule, since there was no objection to the application, the Commission can presume that the approval of the transaction is in the public interest and use the information contained in the application and accompanying documents as evidence to support approval of the transaction. Further, CenturyLink and Level 3 are still prepared today to present testimony to further support approval of the application. Hearing officer, I would move to admit the application and accompanying exhibits as an exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor. Thanks.
We'll admit those.
Your Honor, do you need a copy of the application? I would like to call Jeremy Firkin as CenturyLink's witness. Would you like Mr. Firkin to approach the witness stand or stay seated?
He can stay right there. Mr. Firkin, do you swear to tell the truth today?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My name is Jeremy Firkin. I'm Vice President of Operations for CenturyLink. On October 31st, 2016, Level 3 Communications, Inc. and CenturyLink, Inc. entered into an agreement and plan of merger that will result in Level 3 becoming a wholly owned subsidiary of CenturyLink. Since this is a parent-level transaction only, with no change in the regulated entities that operate in Utah, and no change in control of the parent level for the CenturyLink subsidiaries, the Public Service Commission retains exactly the same authority over all Level 3 operating entities certificated by the Commission and CenturyLink operating entities certificated by the Commission that the Commission possesses immediately prior to the transaction. Upon closing of the transaction, CenturyLink shareholders will own approximately 51% and Level 3 shareholders will own approximately 49% of the combined company. In addition, the transaction will be seamless to customers as the Level 3 operating entities and the CenturyLink subsidiaries will continue to provide services subject to the same rules, regulations, price lists, and applicable tariffs, if any, as they do now to retail and wholesale customers. The transaction will benefit both customers and competition in the enterprise market. Approval of the proposed transaction will enable CenturyLink and Level 3 to combine their complementary networks to offer customers and enterprise services a broader range of on-net services and solutions than they currently can obtain from the companies individually. It will reduce both companies' dependence on leased fiber facilities, and by enhancing the combined company's reach and financial profile, strengthen its ability to invest and compete for the long term. The transaction will promote competition in the enterprise market, will improve the company's financial profile, will not adversely harm existing residential customers, and will not alter existing contracts or regulatory commitments. The transaction will allow the combined company to more effectively compete for enterprise customers. The needs of an interconnected world create increasing demand for fiber broadband capacity. The proposed transaction will expand CenturyLink's fiber network to better serve its existing customers and will reduce the combined company's dependence on leased fiber facilities. The transaction will bolster the combined company's ability to compete for multi-location enterprise customers and will enhance its expanded reach to serve a higher proportion of locations using its own end-user connections. By combining resources, therefore, the companies will be better able to provide existing and future enterprise customers with robust end-to-end solutions for greater bandwidth, enhanced security, greater convenience, and better customer service. The transaction will also not result in any countervailing competitive harms. By bolstering the company's ability to compete in markets that will remain competitive, the transaction will only enhance the quality of competition in these markets. Existing and future enterprise customers in Utah thereby benefit. The proposed transaction will have no adverse impact on competition in the residential market. Level 3 does not serve residential customers or subscribers. While CenturyLink remains committed to its residential customers in Utah, this transaction is about enterprise market. The transaction will not affect CenturyLink's regulatory obligations toward residential subscribers or any pending commitments or obligations CenturyLink in Utah relative to those customers. The transaction's focus is on enhancing the ability of the combined company to compete vigorously in the provision of enterprise services, which results in a stronger company overall.
Mr. Firkin, what you just read into the record is a summary that you have in front of you, correct?
That is correct.
And clearly support the statements in the summary that you just put into the record?
Correct.
Hearing officer, I would move to admit the summary that Mr. Firkin just read as an exhibit.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
All right. You have copies of that?
I do. How many copies would you like?
Well, I just need one, and then if you'd give one to Mr. Jeter.
May I approach?
Yes. Thank you. Let's mark this as hearing exhibit A.
So, Mr. Firkin, based on your summary, you believe the transaction is in the public interest?
I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that's true.
You also stated in your summary that the transaction will not result in any countervailing harms. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Hearing officer, I have no further questions for Mr. Firkin at this time.
Mr. Evans, is there anything that you want to ask Mr. Firkin?
No, thank you.
And I think I should have asked you as well if you had any objection to the summary.
No objection, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jeter, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Any other witnesses, Mr. Summers?
No other witnesses for CenturyLink.
Okay. Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Thank you. We're mindful of the requirements of the Commission's rule, and for our part of the proceeding, we'd like to call Christy Ince to update the Commission on filings in other states and the FCC and ensure that we have, in fact, complied with the rules. So we call Christy Ince, please.
All right. Ms. Ince, do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
And can you hear Mr. Evans?
I can hear him, but if there's a way to make it a bit louder, I would appreciate it. Possibly if he moves a little closer to the microphone.
He's going to try that, but if you're still having trouble, just interrupt and let us know, and we can bring him right up here to speak into the phone, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Thank you. I'll try to speak a little louder. Good morning, Ms. Ince. Would you, is that better? For the record, would you state your name, your business address, and your position at level 3?
Yes, my name is Christy Ince. I'm the Vice President for State and Regulatory Legislative Affairs at Level 3 Communications Incorporated. My business address is 6801 Gaylord Parkway, Suite 300, Frisco, Texas, 75034.
Would you summarize your experience in the telecommunications industry?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin. My educational background is in philosophy, German language, and literature. Professionally, I began working at the Texas legislature, where I spent 7 years as legislative director. And in 2000, I went to work for the telecom industry where I've been for over 16 years. At first, I worked for Time Warner / TW Telecom, and then after TW Telecom was acquired by Level 3 for Level 3. During that time, I've represented these companies in government affairs, regulatory affairs, and public policy in various state proceedings, and I also hold a management position at Level 3.
Have you reviewed the joint application filed by Level 3 and CenturyLink?
Yes.
And are you the person that signed the verification to the application?
No, that was Pamela Hollick, the Associate General Counsel for Level 3.
Do you have personal knowledge of the matters set out in the application?
I do.
So for the purposes of your testimony today, do you adopt those statements as your own?
Yes.
Are there any changes or corrections that ought to be made to the joint application?
No corrections or changes.
Is Level 3 asking the Commission to approve this transaction pursuant to the informal procedures described in the Commission's rule?
Yes, we are.
Is Level 3 or any of its Utah operating companies serving as an incumbent local exchange carrier anywhere in Utah?
No, we are not.
Are Level 3 and CenturyLink required to file for Section 214 authority with the Federal Communications Commission?
Yes, we are. Level 3 and CenturyLink filed a consolidated application with the FCC to transfer the domestic international Section 214 authorization and to approve the transfer of control of Level 3 operating companies to CenturyLink. That application was filed on December 12th, 2016.
And has that FCC application been submitted in the Utah docket?
Yes, a copy of that FCC application was filed as Exhibit B to our Utah application.
Have there been any updates to the FCC application since the initial filing?
Yes, on December 19th, CenturyLink and Level 3 filed supplemental information with the FCC in response to questions that we received from FCC staff.
And is that supplemental filing the document that has been submitted in the Utah proceeding as Supplemental Exhibit 1?
Yes, that's correct.
Has the FCC issued a public notice in response to the application?
They have. The FCC issued a public notice on December 2016. That notice established a pleading cycle for comments from interested parties. Those are due January 23rd, 2017, and reply comments were due yesterday, February 7th, 2017.
And has the FCC's public notice been submitted in the Utah proceeding?
Yes, and I'm sorry, it was the day before yesterday. Yes, it was filed in this docket as Supplemental Exhibit 2.
Have there been any comments filed on the FCC application?
Yes, we received two sets of comments. One was from Encompass, a trade association that represents communications and technology companies, and one from the National Congress of American Indians. That is an organization interested in access to affordable broadband service on tribal land.
Has either commenter opposed the transaction or in any way requested that the FCC deny the application?
No. However, they did ask the FCC to consider the effect of the transaction on competition and on the accessibility and cost of broadband services in tribal areas.
Have the applicants replied to those comments?
We filed comments on February 7th, 2017.
Were there other comments filed in the FCC proceeding?
Yes, there were several sets of reply comments that were filed on February 7th. We are reviewing those and will respond appropriately. If the Commission requests, we will submit those reply comments in our post-hearing brief.
Have the applicants filed a Hart-Scott-Rodino notification with the Federal Trade Commission for this transaction?
Yes, the applications originally filed the notification on December 12th, 2016, and after discussion with the DOJ, the notification was this is a common procedure to allow the DOJ additional time to review the transaction for foreign ownership.
Do you have an idea of when the applicants might have the necessary approvals from the FCC and the DOJ to go forward with this transaction?
It's hard to say exactly, but we're hoping to have all of them sometime in the second quarter of 2017.
Do any state commissions other than Utah require Level 3 and CenturyLink to obtain approval before closing this transaction?
Yes. We have 18 states that require approval, and I believe that we list the states on page 10 of our application with Utah.
And have applications been filed in all 18 states that require approval?
Yes, they have.
And I see that the Maryland application has been submitted to the Utah Commission as Supplemental Exhibit 3 in this docket. Is that right?
That's correct.
Are the applications that have been filed with these other states substantially similar to the Utah and Maryland applications?
Yes, they are.
Have any of the states in which approval is required approved the transaction as of today?
The Delaware staff, Nevada staff, and Ohio staff have recommended that no action be taken, which in those states has the effect of approval. No other states have yet completed their review.
Do you have before you Supplemental Exhibit 4?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that is, please?
That is a memorandum from the Delaware staff recommending that no action be taken.
And can you identify Supplemental Exhibit 5 for us?
Yes, Supplemental Exhibit 5 is a report from the Nevada staff stating that neither staff nor the consumer advocate are requesting further action.
And what is Supplemental Exhibit 6?
That is the review and the recommendation of the Ohio staff that I mentioned, that the application be automatically approved with no further action.
In those states that have not yet approved the transaction, have you received or are you aware of any opposition or protest to the transaction?
Yes, we have received one protest filed with the Pennsylvania Commission by Core Communications, and one joint protest filed with the California Commission by the Office of Ratepayer Advocates and the Utility Reform Network and the Green Mining Institute.
What was the Pennsylvania protest about?
Generally, the protester is alleging that the transaction will increase competitors' costs for certain types of services in Pennsylvania. CenturyLink and Level 3 filed an answer on February 3rd, denying that claim, as well as asserting that the Pennsylvania market is competitive and that the protester's allegations are not relevant to the merger review under the applicable Pennsylvania legal standards.
And can you tell us about the California protest? What is that one about?
Yes, the joint protesters in California are alleging that the applicant should not be able to use the California advice letter filing procedure to obtain approval for the transaction. They've asked the commission to require the parties to use a formal application process instead. They've also asked the commission to require additional details from the parties, such as the effect of the transaction on competition, service quality, and reliability, as well as further deployment of advanced communication services and public safety. CenturyLink and Level 3 are preparing a response to this protest, in effect denying that the advice letter process can't be used, and that response we expect will be filed by February 13th.
Have you heard of or are you aware of any other protest or opposition to the transaction?
There has been an action filed in federal court in Colorado alleging certain SEC violations in connection with the transaction. This is not wholly unexpected in this type of merger, and the companies are responding and do not believe it will impact our review of our application with the Colorado Public Service Commission or ultimately the ability for the companies to close the transaction.
Any other protests or oppositions of which you are aware?
No.
Have you heard of or are you aware of any protests or opposition to the Utah application?
No.
Have Level 3 and CenturyLink filed notifications in all states that require only a notice filing?
Yes, we have.
And do you have a date on which CenturyLink and Level 3 would like to close this transaction?
We'd like to be able to close as soon as possible after all the states and the FCC and federal agencies have approved the transaction. Based on our current anticipated approval timeframes, we expect this to happen sometime in the third quarter of 2017.
Okay. Can you describe who the Level 3 entities are that are operating in the state of Utah that are affected by this transaction?
Sure. The Level 3 operating companies operating in Utah are identified in the application. They are all non-dominant carriers that are authorized to provide resold and facility-based telecommunications services pursuant to our certificates of convenience and necessity that were issued by the Utah Commission or on a deregulated basis. Each of those entities is a direct subsidiary of either Level 3 Communications LLC or Level 3 Telecom LLC, which are subsidiaries then of Level 3 Communications Inc. And that's illustrated on the organizational charts that were attached as Exhibit A to the application. The transaction involves a parent level transfer control of the Level 3 parent only. As a result of the transaction, the Level 3 opcos will become indirect, wholly owned subsidiaries of CenturyLink. The Level 3 opcos, though, will continue to operate as they do today and will remain subject to the same regulatory obligations. The Level 3 opcos will continue to offer services subject to the same rules, regulations, and applicable tariffs or price lists as they do now. The contracts in place today, setting forth the rates, terms, and conditions for service of enterprise and wholesale customers will not change due to the transaction. And because the transaction results in no direct change to the Level 3 opcos operation, it's transparent to our customers. As mentioned, Level 3 does not serve residential subscribers or consumers, and nothing about the transaction is expected to have a negative effect on residential and small business markets.
Thank you. Can you offer a summary of why you believe this transaction is in the public interest?
Sure. We believe the transaction will enhance the quality of competition in the enterprise and wholesale markets by bolstering the combined company's ability to compete with larger, better capitalized enterprise and wholesale service providers. Enterprise and wholesale customers will thereby benefit by the transaction. The transaction's principal and exclusive focus is on enhancing the ability of the combined company to compete vigorously for enterprise customers. And by combining and expanding the reach of CenturyLink with Level 3, it will enable the company to offer one-stop shopping to more customers seeking multi-site agreements, thus making the company a stronger competitor in the larger scale enterprise market. We think that the transaction will provide the post-merger entity with the additional financial strength, scale, and scope economies, as well as geographic coverage, to better compete with the providers offering state-of-the-art and innovative services to large businesses and government customers throughout the country. Furthermore, we think that the transaction will enable the combined company to offer a broader range of services and solutions to meet the demands of enterprise customers for more bandwidth, enhanced security, greater convenience, and better customer service in an ever-evolving and increasingly complex operating environment. For instance, the combination of CenturyLink's extensive managed services portfolio with Level 3's content delivery network and Internet protocol-based virtual private network capabilities, all delivered over an extensive global network, will be a boon to enterprise and wholesale customers. We also believe that the transaction will greatly enhance the applicant's network security and advanced threat intelligence services, which will serve to provide greater security for customers' data and systems. Enterprise and wholesale customers are increasingly the targets of cyber attacks, and the overall business and technological risks of operating in today's highly connected environment are substantial.
Thank you, Ms. Ince. Level 3 would move for admission of supplemental exhibits 1 through 6.
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you.
That concludes my direct of Ms. Ince. She is available for cross.
Mr. Summers, anything for this witness?
We have no questions.
Mr. Jetter?
I have no questions.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jetter, go ahead.
Thank you. The division would like to call and have sworn in Mr. William Duncan.
Mr. Duncan, do you swear to tell the truth today? Go ahead.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Duncan. Would you please state your name and occupation for the record?
Yes, my name is William Duncan. I'm the manager of the telecommunications section of the Utah Division of Public Utilities.
Thank you. In the course of your employment, had you had the opportunity to review the joint application in the 4 dockets that we're here for today?
Yes, I have.
And have you also had the opportunity to review the exhibits that were attached to the December 16th filing, as well as supplemental exhibits 1 through 4 filed February 3rd, 2017, and supplemental exhibits 5 and 6 filed on February 8th, 2017?
Yes, I have.
And there's a memorandum that was filed by the division January 18th, 2017. Was that created?
Did someone on the phone?
Hello?
Is there someone on the phone who wants to say something? Those of you who are on the phone, would you mute your phones unless you're actually putting something on the record?
Yes, I'm sorry. I got cut off when I was trying to find the number to dial in. I interrupted to see if it was dropped. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Thank you.
I'll just restart that question if that's okay. So, Mr. Duncan, there was a memorandum filed by the division in this docket on January 18th, 2017. Was that created under your direction by the division?
Yes, it was.
And are you familiar with the memorandum and the recommendations that are contained in it?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any corrections or changes you'd like to make to those?
No.
And does the recommendation contained in the January 18th memorandum of approval of this application remain the recommendation of the division?
Yes.
Were you in the hearing room earlier when there was discussed 2 different potential oppositions or challenges to applications or the process or procedure used in the filings in Pennsylvania and California?
Yes.
Is there any reason that you would change your recommendation based on those?
No.
And are you familiar with, or at least aware of, a shareholder lawsuit in Colorado?
Yes.
And does that change your recommendation of approval?
No.
And finally, do you believe, based on the information that you've had available to you and the information that has been updated through the supplemental filings in this docket, that approval of this application is just, reasonable, and in the public interest?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to move to introduce the division's memorandum into the docket as, I don't know if we want to call that a DPU Exhibit 1.
I like that very much. Let's make it DPU Exhibit 1. Any objection?
No objection from CenturyLink.
None from level 3.
Thank you.
And I have no further questions for Mr. Duncan. He's available for cross.
Mr. Summers?
CenturyLink has no questions for Mr. Duncan.
And Mr. Evans?
Nor does level 3. Thank you.
Well, then I believe I have what I need. I just want to double check that I have the titles of our witnesses correct. Mr. Firkin, I wrote down Director of Operations for CenturyLink, but I think there was more to it than that.
Actually, Vice President of Operations for Utah, Nevada, and California.
Utah.
Nevada and California.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Ince, I wrote down Vice President of State and Regulatory Affairs, but I also think I missed a piece of that.
Yes, it's Vice President, State Regulatory and Legislative Affairs.
Okay. All right, now I think I have everything that I need. So I'll thank the parties, and we will close this hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.